What is up, guys? Delboy here. So, Joyce defeats Ian Lewison by an 8th round TKO on his professional debut in a relatively decent performance. Obviously, when prospects turn over, they don't usually fight somebody as good as Ian Lewison in their first fight. Usually they'll have a few tune-up fights, a few journeymen, and around their 10th sort of fight, they'll be fighting guys like Ian Lewison. But the reality is, Joyce has no time to lose. I believe he's 32 years old, so they're going to hit the ground running. You know, they're going to put him in there with decent opposition straight away, and that's a good thing to hear, because I think Joyce is one of those guys who needs to be fast tracked. Because, like I said, the reality is he's 32 years old. Time is not on his side, and even stylistically, his style is not going to age well. He is very cardio heavy, throws a lot of punches. You know, relies on his gas tank, and as you get older, that gas tank could start to fade, and the wear and tear on your body and things of that nature will make it harder to fight in that style. So they definitely need to get a move on, and Ian Lewison as a pro debut was a good start. In the first round, I felt Joyce looked a little bit clumsy, he looked a little bit cumbersome, and he looked a bit square on at times, whereas he was doing some sort of basic mistakes like crossing his feet, throwing himself off balance. He was walking into looping Ian Lewison counters that kind of landed flush. He was still doing some good work in the first round, letting his hands go, putting his shots together, a lot of volume. But in the first round, I felt to myself, well, if he's not careful, he might walk onto something. Ian Lewison had a good first round, but after the first round, that was it really. From round 2 onwards, it was a beating. As the rounds progressed, Joyce kept on letting his hands go. He started to use the jab a lot more, the jab to the head and body, and he started to land some nice combinations behind it. Ian Lewison, after the first round, he looked spent, and from rounds 2 to round 8, he was just taking a beating. It has to be said, he looked grossly out of shape. He looked fat. He didn't look like he trained hard for this fight, and he had a long camp as well. So that was a little bit disappointing. Although I don't think he trained hard, he did put up a good effort in the ring. He was durable. He was tough. He stayed in there, but he just didn't do enough work outside the ring. And it's a shame, because Ian Lewison was a good amateur. He beat Olandias Solis. I believe he beat Robert Helenius as well. He had some good wins as an amateur, and he had a lot of talent as an amateur, but he just never took boxing seriously. I believe he even said once that he hated training. And you can tell that the guy doesn't train properly. You know, he obviously doesn't diet. He doesn't take strength and conditioning seriously, and it's always going to be his downfall. And at 36 years old, he either retires now, or he becomes a journeyman / sort of small hall fighter. That's the reality now. Ian Lewison is not going to get any more chances, I wouldn't have thought. But he did stick in with it. I'll give him that credit. He's got a good chin. He stuck in with it, but there just wasn't enough there, because there were times when Ian Lewison was catching Joyce with looping shots that Joyce didn't see coming, but there just wasn't enough of it. And dare I say, if he was a little bit fitter, he would have gave Joyce a lot tougher fight. But like I said, from round 2 onwards, Joyce was piling on the pressure, working that jab. He was kind of switching between boxing on the back foot and coming forward. It almost looked like he was kind of stuck between two styles. I was surprised to see Joyce fight on the back foot, because we never really saw that in the amateurs, but he did actually do okay on the back foot. I actually felt he looked better on the back foot than on the front foot, to be quite honest. But whether that works against high level opposition, I'm not sure. He does look like a guy who's trying to figure out what his pro style is going to be, and he needs to get that sorted quick, because sometimes we see amateurs turn over and they never really settle into their style. Joyce needs to settle into his style right away. He needs to find his style. He needs to stick with it. And I'm not sure what that style should be, whether he fights on the back foot or kind of stays to his roots and is more of an aggressive fighter who tries to outlast you and outwork you. I'm not sure what the answer is, but the reality is he and his team need to figure that out. But all in all, I felt it was a decent first performance. He clearly showed he's got a good gas tank as a heavyweight. threw a lot of punches, moved on his feet quite a lot, and he got to round 8 on his first fight, and he looked quite fresh in round 8, to be quite honest with you. I think Joe Joyce can do 12 rounds quite easily. He also took a few good shots from Ian Lewison, and his chin looked okay. So, all in all, a decent performance from Joe Joyce. Where does he go from here? Well, David Hay was saying that he would take the Commonwealth title fight winner, Dave Allen or Lenny Roy Thomas. He'll take the winner of that fight, or he'll fight Sam Sexton for the British title. I think Sam Sexton is ideal. Sexton, to me, is on the same level as Ian Lewison, so I think he needs another fight at that level. Fight for the British title. Sam Sexton will take you a couple of rounds, and I expect Joe Joyce to beat Sam Sexton and the winner of the Commonwealth title fight. Either one of those are good fights, in my opinion, at this stage of his career, and that'd be a good next step, in my opinion. What do you guys think of Joe Joyce? What did you make of his performance? I felt it was good for what it was. Obviously, Ian Lewison's a better guy than most people who fight on their first fight, but there are a lot of things to improve. Like I said, in the first round, he was very tentative. He was very clumsy. He walked into some flush shots. And there were moments even when he was dominating, there were moments where he kind of made sloppy mistakes. Like I said, crossing his feet, coming straight on, chin in the air, things of that nature. He's got a lot to improve on. He does have a lot to improve on, especially defensively. He's never going to be a super defensive fighter, but he can just be a little bit more careful, tuck his chin down a little bit more, use his guard a little bit more, things of that nature. But he's going to get better, he's going to learn through these fights, and I felt, all in all, a solid 7, 8 out of 10 performance. What did you guys think? Peace.